Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to do your very first weaving. And I'm going to teach you about warp lines and weft lines. And we're going to be doing a simple paper weaving. Here's some other fun ideas that you could possibly do with a paper weaving. And this is a little basket. So these are options once you learn how to do a paper weaving. And this was even done with fabric. I wove fabric through fabric. So those are fun things that you can do once you've learned your weaving techniques. I do want to show you this little mini model of a Native American. And people have been weaving for hundreds of years. This is what they used to weave on, these large weaving looms when they weaved their blankets. And the lines that come down are called the warp lines. And then the lines that come across horizontal are called the weft lines. And the weft is what we weave under, over. And I'll be showing you that in our demonstration today on paper weaving. But I just wanted you to see a little mini model of a weaving loom that the first Americans wove with. There's the lady. She even has a necklace on here. Her baby right next to her. And this is a weaving loom. And this is a Native American model, and she's weaving a blanket. And it's woven with yarns. Let me turn it slow so you can see it. Now I'm going to show you how to do a simple paper weaving. To start the simple weaving process for paper, I take my two short sides of the paper. So this shorter side, this is the longer side, and I'm just going to fold the shorter side over to the other shorter side. So I'm going to fold it in half. This is just like a book fold. So when you open it up, it's like a book. On the fold, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger on the fold now. Okay, where we have the crease down the middle. And I'm going to just slide this and turn it so the fold line is near my tummy. Okay? And then the top is the opening. I'm going to now take my ruler and I'm going to place the ruler right at the top line here. And I want it to be right to the very edge of the line. So place your ruler to the very, very edge. And then you're just going to simply take your pencil and trace down this line on the ruler. Now what you're going to do is holding the ruler vertically, I'm just going to place my ruler vertically, touching the edge of the page, and I'm just going to draw right down to my fold. Remember, this is the fold line. I'm going to skip over, draw down, skip over, and when I skip over, the ruler is touching the previous line. And this is approximately an inch. So this is a beginning weaving project. You could do this line any thickness you want. You could even go closer. But for this purpose for today, the simple weaving, I'm just going to do an inch spacing. Bring it over, draw down, slide it over, and remember it's touching the previous line. Draw down, slide it over, draw down, slide it over, draw down, slide it over, draw down. Our next step is to take our paper, now that we're done all our little lines, and I'm going to cut up on the lines, and I'm going to stop at the horizontal line. So I can mark that line if you want to do that, or you can just remember it. This is the yellow horizontal line. I'm not going to cut past that line. So you don't have to draw that, but I'm just showing you. We're not going past the horizontal line. These are vertical, these are horizontal. So now I'm going to start, and I just simply cut through the fold. And after you make a little cut, double check. Open it up. Make sure it's in the middle of your page. Close it back up. If it's in the middle of the page, continue to make your cut. And I'm going to cut slowly and carefully on the line, and I'm going to stop at the horizontal, the yellow line. I'm going to do the same again, cutting slowly and carefully, and you want to use all of your scissor safety rules. You want to make sure your fingers are away from the blade, slowly and carefully, and stop. You want to make sure you've cut right to that line. That's important. You don't want to cut past it, but you don't want to stop before it as well. Do the next line, cutting through each vertical line. And then you stop right at the yellow line. Just do it very slowly and carefully. So I'm cutting my vertical lines, just slowly and carefully. Slowly and carefully, and I'm right at my end. Now I'm going to open this up. And this becomes the weaving mat. Now I'm ready to weave. These long lines that we just cut in weaving are called the warp lines. So these would be, if it's done in fabric, the threads are called the warp threads. W-A-R-P, warp. The threads, or the papers that go horizontally across the page, are called the weft threads or papers. W-E-F-T, weft. And I just cut some strips approximately an inch thick. These weft strips can be cut any size. You can use different materials of it, yarns. You can mix different materials with these as well. For this purpose, I'm just going to use several different colors just so that you can see a weaving. But you can create patterns with these colors. There's all kinds of things that you could do to this and combinations that you can think of. Maybe using tissue paper, doing some paper and some tissue paper. So lots of ideas. In the end of the video, I'll show you some different things that I've done with my kids. To start the weaving process, we take the strips that we're going to weave, we put them on top of the warp, the first warp line. So these are the warp lines. And then we lift up the second one. So we're going to place it on top, on the very edge, lift up the second strip, and slide this under. Let me bring it close so you can see again. So I'm going to slide it under. So if we do this together, you have now, you've placed your strip on top of the vertical warp lines. I'm lifting up the next warp line, and my weft strip, the paper strips go under. You can see how it comes under and right out. Okay, so do that with me. Now I'm approaching my next strip. So this is over these strips. This one went under. Now this one is going over. Now I slide the next one. You just have to make sure every one is opposite. So if this is over this strip, I'm going to lift this one up because I can't have two overs in a row. So now we lift the next strip up and slide this one under. Then I'm bringing it to this strip. Here it is on top of this strip. So let's look and see what we've got so far, and you can check your work. So the first one is, I can see the yellow. Then it's under. This is over the strip. Under. And now this is over. Let's continue on. Sliding this one, if this is over, then this one needs to be under. So I lift the strip up, slide this under. So this goes under, then I bring it over the next one. And you're going to do this process till you reach the end. I have a few more left. Under, over, my next one. And the last strip I went under. So now let's look at our work. You always want to check your pattern. Here the yellow strip is over the white strip. Here it is under the white strips. It's over the white strips. It's under. Over, under. Over the white strip, under. Over, under. This is correct. I have done this correct. If there was a wrong spot, I'll show you what it looks like when it's wrong. If I did two in a row, you can clearly see here the spot that's wrong. I have a big space with no yellow strip. See how I have yellow squares? And then I have a big space. So you can clearly see this area is wrong. If you have something wrong, just go back and fix it. That's what's great about art. So this is under. That means the last one has to be over. When you have your strips that are correct, now you're simply just going to push this to the very end or the top. So I'm just bringing this all up together. Sometimes you have to move it a little bit so it'll go in, but you want it to come across the page, and you want it to be as far up as you can. That way it's secured in place to the top. Now that we have our first row of weaving done, we're going to do our next row. For the second row of weaving, you're going to be doing the same thing. Under, over, under, over, under, over, except if the top one, the previous one, is over, then you're going to do the next first one opposite. So this is the confusing part, and this is where kids sometimes make a mistake. The thing to remember is you don't want to do the same thing you did above on the same strip. So if this strip is over the first strip, I need to do opposite. So what's opposite over? Under. So if the first strip is over. The yellow one is over because I can see it. I need to take my next strip, and I'm going to do purple so you can see the difference. So my next strip has to be under. So I just lift this up and I go under. You notice that when I bring it up next to the first strip here, there's a white space. It should be different from the one above. That's the best thing to remember. So when we weave, the strip should be different from above. The under-over process is the same, but it should be opposite what's above. So the strip now, as I'm weaving across, I went under, so now I'm going to go over. And it's different from this space. This one is the under space. Then I continue my weaving now. So I've started under first. So this row is under, over. The next one I have to lift up to go under. It's important not to skip any of these spaces. So I go under, over, under, over, lift up the next strip, under. Then I go over, lift up this strip, under. The next strip, over. This strip, under. And my last one, over. Now I'm going to push this up next to the yellow strip. Carefully pushing it little by little so they touch. Push it in tight. And if you notice, now let's see what's happening. We're forming almost a checkerboard space. My strips are pretty equal, so it'll look like a checkerboard. As an artist, you might be weaving strips that are skinnier or some that are fatter. I'll show you this one. And the next one I'll cut a little bit skinnier. And that'll form a different pattern. It won't be all checkerboard. And sometimes artists even cut strips that are wavy. And that gives a different pattern too. Or zigzag. Here's a wavy way to do your weft strips. So it's up to you for your weft strips, how you cut them. But look at that. That would make an interesting weaving strip. Once you learn the process, you can experiment artistically with your different shapes. I'm going to do another layer to this with you. This purple strip went under the first one. So now, as an artist, to do it correctly, I need to start off over the first one. So I bring my strip over, and then the second one is now going under. Previously, the second one was over. So I do it opposite the next row. When you make your first weaving, double check to make sure. Over, under rather, over, under. Yep, it looks correct. Now I can continue. I went over this one, so I have to go under with the green. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Always double check as you do each row and also each shape. Bring this up nice and tight. And you can see how I made the green one a little bit skinnier. That adds a little bit of visual interest. But that's up to you and your teacher how you want to make your shapes. She may have pre-cut shapes for you to use. This is the weaving process. Double check, over, under, over. Double check here to see if you have the correct pattern. Then do your next strip. I'll show you what it looks like if it's a wavy strip. I take this, I went over, now I'm going to go under my first strip. When I'm working my weaving, I'm bringing it down a little bit. I'm not starting it really close to this. It's easier to work a little bit from it and then push it up to it. That's just a little hint. So this was over, I'm double checking, under. My first one needs to be correct. Then it sets up the rest of the weaving, weft lines. These are the weft. If you do the first one correctly, then it sets up the rest of the weft for the correct pattern. So this is under, over. I'm going to bring it down so it's easier for me to lift up. Under, over. Lift it up. Under, over. Under, over. Under, over. Now I'm going to push this up. There is one that has a little bit of a wave to it. Right there. You're going to continue this process until you've completed it to the very bottom. Once you are done all the weft lines, which is the ones that go across, you want to make sure that you haven't skipped any. You want to push it up as far as you can so that there's not big spaces at the bottom. Then, this is optional, you can take a glue stick, I find is the easiest, and just put a little bit of glue underneath the weft strips, which is the crossed, just to hold them in place. So I just lift up, put a little dot. You don't need a lot of glue at all. I just lift up. Let me bring it in close so you can see. I just do a little bit. Press it down. Just lift up and press down. And then I do flip this over. I missed this one. I do flip it over and then do it again on this side, right here. Just a little bit of glue. Another option, some people like to leave this sticking out, the weft lines. Some people like to fray them with their scissors. I'll show you that. Just by cutting little strips like so. It's fraying, it's called. That gives a different fun texture on the edges. Kind of makes it look like real fabric weaving. Like so. Or you can just cut this off so it's straight and evened with the edge of your paper. Just like so. So it's up to you all the way down so it's straight. So it's up to you how you want to finish off your weaving. Other artists add designs to this, maybe a pattern in every one of here, every one of the white spaces, or you could even add some paint on top. So as an artist, it's up to you how you want to finish it. But this is basically how to weave with your warp and then weave the weft through your paper. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I want to thank my viewers and all my patrons who joined me in my Patreon account. If you would like to become a patron, just click on the title and it'll give you a link to the Patreon account where you can sign up.